Zombies have been a classic monster in media for centuries, but recently dominated American media with shows like The Walking Dead and games like The Last of Us. We love the idea of fighting an enemy that's already dead, and adding the struggle to survive in a world overrun by hordes of brain-hungry creatures has a certain romantic appeal. Breathless, a survival horror TTRPG by Fari RPGs, does an incredible job of putting players in the middle of that fantasy. With simple mechanics that constantly ratchet up tension, Breathless is an excellent way to drop into a world where everything is out to kill you, and see if you've got what it takes to make it through another bloody day. Due to its brevity, Breathless doesn't have much in the way of setting. We're told we're a survivor, we're told the city we live in has been walled up from the outside, and that everywhere we look, crawlers stalk the land. We don't know anyone, and we certainly don't trust anyone, and our only motivation is to make it through the day. The game's random generation tables do allow us to extrapolate a bit more flavor. Judging by the available jobs and weapons, we can assume Breathless takes place sometime around our current place in history. IT specialists and DJs weren't especially viable careers in the 50s. We can also assume there's a light sci-fi element. You could stumble into a new type of crawler, which suggests rapid evolution, and you could even meet someone immune to the disease, a common trope of zombie media. While I personally am a sucker for lore, I think Breathless's minimal setting achieves what it's aiming for. The book itself can be distributed as a brochure, which doesn't leave a lot of room for extraneous text. However, by providing that short burst of detail, players are equipped with everything they need to imagine the landscape they'll soon slog through. Even if you haven't played all 40 hours of Days Gone, the target audience has probably been exposed to enough zombie movies and TV shows that they get the idea, and can start to build out their world's own unique mythology. Breathless provides the canvas, and trusts players to paint with their own brushes. As a survival horror game, Breathless nails the feel of increasing danger through its mechanics. Players interact with the world through their 6 skills: bash, dash, sneak, shoot, think, and sway. To use one of these skills, players must roll a die, and the higher the number on the die, the better the result will be. On a 1 to 2, the player fails their action and incurs a consequence. On a 3 and 4, players succeed, but there's a complication. And on a 5 or higher, you succeed without problems, with the level of success scaling with the higher roll. When I think of an RPG system that uses success as a cost, and failure as the 3 categories of skill results, I typically think of Powered by the Apocalypse, Forged in the Dark, and Lumen games, all of which use a 6-sided die, granting players somewhere between a 50 and 67% chance of success. Breathless's twist on this format is that checks are not limited to a d6. At character creation, you're given a d10, a d8, and a d6 to apply to 3 of the aforementioned skills. The other 3 default to d4s. So already your character is at a disadvantage with half their skills. With a d4, you can only ever achieve a partial success. What I really love about Breathless is that even when you roll a skill that you have a higher level of die in, that advantage is only temporary. Because every time you use a skill, the die you use for that roll goes down a level. So if you roll your d10 skill, it goes down to a d8, d8 to d6, bottoming out at d4s all around. I love this degrading skill system. In a survival horror game, you want to create moments of tension and uncertainty. You really want to put your characters through the ringer and have them gasping for air by the end. By decreasing your character's efficiency with every skill check, you not only simulate the errors they might make as constant effort exhausts them, but you also create opportunities for uncertainty. If you're holed up in a building taking pot shots at an oncoming horde, you're not going to be especially worried if your shoot skill is a d10, and you have an 80% chance of success. But as that fight wears on, and your shoot goes from a d10 to a d4, all of a sudden the stakes are much higher, because even if you roll a 3 or 4, you know some nasty problem is about to pop up. However, Fari RPGs makes a wise choice in adding a catch your breath mechanic. You can undo all of the skill degradation by narrativizing how your characters find a moment to relieve the pressure they're under, even during combat. When you catch your breath, you reset your skills back to their original die counts at the cost of introducing a new complication. This mechanic owns for a lot of reasons. First, it gives players a way to reclaim their agency, to push back against mechanics that increasingly position them to fail. I personally hate when I have a string of bad rolls, and throwing me this lifeline would make me feel a lot better about getting up and trying again. Second, it's an individual mechanic that has consequences for the whole group. It forces players to weigh the benefits of resetting their character against the fact that they know the GM will throw all of them a new challenge. This tension is perfect. Even when you catch a break, you know the crawlers are always one step behind, constantly breathing down your neck. As a more lightweight RPG, Breathless doesn't offer level ups or skill increases. The closest thing it has to a mechanical reward system are loot checks, which you can make when appropriate for your story. These are performed with a straight d20 roll, one that only gives you an item on a 15 or up. In addition, rolling a 1 on a loot check will trigger a complication, meaning even when scrounging for med packs, you've got a 5% chance of having an extremely bad day. But if there's not a formal progression system, what kind of gameplay does Breathless encourage? We know that the longer you play, the higher your chances are of rolling a 1 or 2 thanks to degrading skill checks. Even catching your breath comes at a cost. The most efficient way to play would be to only use your proficient skills, avoid getting into sticky situations, and only loot when you're in a relatively safe position. Which is, the way you would play a survival horror game. As is the case in these survival games, even conservative play can go wrong, just by sheer dumb luck. There's no guarantee of safety, no optimal play style that ensures everyone makes it out okay. And that's the point. Your reward for making it through the night is another stressful day. Breathless is a game intended to simulate moments of high tension in a zombie apocalypse setting. If you like the aforementioned Last of Us series, The Walking Dead, or Days Gone, you'll be right at home with Breathless. I do think that the game is better suited to one-shots or mini-campaigns, as its smaller scope may not work for longer narratives. However, the Breathless SRD is straightforward and easy to understand, and I reckon anyone with the interest in hacking it could come up with progression mechanics that expound upon its excellent foundation. If you've grown a little tired of power fantasies, and you want your table to scrape through high-drama scenarios by the skin of their teeth, you'll have a hard time beating Breathless, especially when it comes to ease of play. Shoot, loot, get lucky, and maybe you'll survive. But if you don't, you'll have had a blast getting torn apart. Hey, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I really appreciate literally everybody who watches these things, because they take a lot of time, and I really, really want to highlight some interesting games in the indie space. So, again, thank you so much for your time. If you want me to review a specific game, you could leave it in the comments. That's a thing that people tell you to do on YouTube, and I'll check that out. And also just if you want to see more of this stuff, please tell people about my channel, because I want more people to know about cool indie games. If you're interested in the stuff I do, you can follow me on Twitter at AaronSXL. I mostly tweet about tabletop RPGs, but also health policy. If you're interested in the stuff that me and my friends are doing, I've got a podcast at The Bible Boys on Twitter where we talk about Christian media. We're going to be watching the Left Behind 2000 with Kirk Cameron this week, which will be extremely fun because I love the Left Behind franchise in a sick way. Another great podcast I do with my friend Layla is Mortified. That's at MortifiedPod on Twitter. If you want more weird game analysis, we're going to be covering Xenosaga 2. So that'll be wild. Love to talk about Nietzsche and robots. Also, at the end of March, my favorite franchise, Kingdom Hearts, is going to be having its 20th anniversary. So I'm going to try to have a review of one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts TTRPGs up at the end of the month. So look out for that if you are interested in any of this kind of stuff. But again, thank you so much for watching. Bye.